So this week I'm coming to you from the most magnificent vistas of Bryce Canyon, and we've been walking up in the snow and the cold, and now we're at a vantage point. We're standing right on top looking down, and it is absolutely inspirational. Now, one of the things you might notice behind me is that there's a railing, and the railing holds me back, and it doesn't allow me to go forward. It's very limiting and could be frustrating. But in this particular instance, this railing is a lifesaver. I'm holding onto it. I can look right over the edge and I can see way down into Bryce Canyon. This railing, in fact, is holding me together right now at this moment. And that's a beautiful message for all of the beautiful details and laws of the Torah. Sometimes they can look like they inhibit, they limit, they define, they tell us what to do and how to behave. But if we allow ourselves to see them as a means of giving us the confidence and the strength to take on the world around us with a feeling of strength and an ability to be able to succeed in whatever we're doing. Sometimes what looks as though it's limiting us, like a seatbelt, is actually one of the greatest assets of life. And this week we talk about the journey and the exodus of the Jewish people, and a lot of it has to do with the River Nile. And the River Nile is the place that the whole dream of Pharaoh began at. The 7 cows was at the River Nile, and that was the forerunner to the greatness that Joseph was elevated to be able to ultimately lead the Jewish people. The River Nile was the place that, God forbid, the Jewish people were ordered to be put into. The Jewish boys were to put into the river to destroy life. And the River Nile was the place that Moses was put into and plucked from. That's the name Moshe, which means to be pulled out of the river. Everything about Egypt centered around the river. Pharaoh actually said, Ani Ya'or, I am the river, I am the power. This is the power of Egypt that depends on something that is so constant, so reliable. It comes through our life and gives us everything we need with a consistency. We are in total control. Everything is absolutely perfect. By stark contrast, when Moses tells the Jewish people, I'm taking you to the promised land, he says, Lo keretz Mitzrayim, this is not like Egypt. Not like Egypt that relies on the river, but on a land of promise that relies on the rain. The vulnerability of a farmer doing all of his efforts, working so hard and waking up in the morning and looking up to the sky and saying, I really need to help because I'm not sure if I can make it alone. That vulnerability translates into the success of life. Ultimately, the Nile was not the God-given success of Egypt. The Nile, in fact, became the place from which all the plagues emanated. The first and the second plague, blood and frogs, ultimately was the destruction of Egypt that came from the Nile. When we're overconfident, it is the seeds of failure. And in these times in which we're living with COVID and not knowing what tomorrow brings, the vulnerability that we're all feeling, any place in the world, whether it's in the heat and the summer of South Africa or in the freezing cold of this beautiful canyon, the vulnerability gives us an opportunity to look deeper, to find strength deeper, and to ultimately find the better method of success. Have a beautiful Shabbos.